Today I'm going to share with you how I make my sketchbooks look pretty and cohesive. Of course, sketchbooks doesn't have to be pretty. You can have a separate ugly sketchbook or just have a couple of pretty spreads or pages. It doesn't have to be, and it's never all perfect and beautiful. But today I'm just going to share with you some tips on how I personally like to make my sketchbooks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to look at, and how I make my spreads more cohesive. The first tip is to decorate your sketchbook cover. It's very important that your sketchbook sparks creativity, and if it's covered in some ugly branding or it's just a plain black cover, it's not always really inspiring. I would suggest you decorate your sketchbooks with some stickers, or if you're feeling really extra, you can even paint on the cover. It's like a really nice activity, and you customize your sketchbook to the maximum this way. Also, if you customize your sketchbook cover, it's a lot more easier to differentiate between your sketchbooks, especially if you have a lot of the same kind of sketchbooks. The second tip is to use color. Outline sketches with a highlighter, fill them in, or just use a colored pencil to sketch instead of a regular one. It's a very fun way to differentiate between sketches and also to add some interest to your rather grayish or black and white spreads. This way you can make some of your sketches pop and some of them just fade into the background more. Also, colors for me are very inspiring, and you can find some new color combinations this way. So it's a great way to practice your coloring and also to make your sketchbook look a little bit better. The third tip is related to the second one. It's also about color, but it's about limiting your color choices or making a palette. This tip is really great for cohesive spreads, and again, it's very nice to practice relationships with color and find some really good palettes that might inspire something totally different. The main point of this tip is to limit yourself a little bit so you wouldn't go crazy. It's just that if you make a rainbow spread, it will again have the same effect as having no color at all, because it's very important to find a balance between too much and too little. And when you find that balance, you can definitely enhance your sketchbook. Tip number 4, pick a theme. Again, it's a great way for cohesive spreads, and especially for studying a particular object or aesthetic. Let me give you some examples. It can be about musical instruments, girls, faces, anatomy, animals, one kind of animal, old technology, fairy tales, your OC, fan art. It can be about whatever you want. So it's a great way to make your spread a little bit more cohesive and study a particular object. Tip number 5 is about big, medium, and small. I think it's a graphic design term that graphic designers use. For example, make a big sketch that takes up about half of your page, then make a little bit of a smaller sketch that takes up like 1/3 of the page, and then fill the rest of it with more sketches. Also, try to always make the biggest sketch or the medium sketches that you really like, the most rendered, colorful. This way you will make a focal point, so the viewer's eyes will definitely see your most prettiest drawing in the page and don't really look at the other stuff that much. Of course, it doesn't have to be the biggest sketch, but it's a great tip to cover up your bad sketches. If you don't want to put a sticky note over them, or you don't want to rip out the whole page out of your sketchbook. Tip number 6, use different art supplies. Experiment and try new mediums. This way, you're not only adding interest to your sketchbook and making it more interesting to flip through, but you're also practicing a lot of different art mediums, which is a great skill to have, and maybe you will find your new favorite medium this way. Don't limit yourself just because it doesn't fit your style or it's not your aesthetic. Just try something new and maybe you will surprise yourself. Tip number 7 is not particularly about sketching and drawing, but it can also be included. It's about collaging. Collaging is basically gluing in stuff in your sketchbook. You can glue in your favorite quotes, your favorite song lyrics, you can glue in pictures, postcards. I never used to do that in my sketchbooks, but now I think it's a great way to make you more inspired. You can cover up mistakes that way and hide alcohol marker bleed through, which I struggle a lot with. So tip number 8 is don't stress it. It's just a sketchbook and not every sketch turns out perfectly. Just keep drawing, and with each sketchbook you will notice how your art keeps getting better. And if you don't have a sketchbook yet, I would suggest you to get one, because that's an amazing way, at least for a beginner, to start practicing art more consistently. Also, when you fill a sketchbook, it's really rewarding, and it's really nice to have a nice collection of your sketches and drawings in one book that also mark your progress. So I would really suggest you to get one if you don't have any. Also, I hope these tips will help you, and if you want to see a tour of some of my sketchbooks that I showed you today in this video, head to my channel. I have a couple of videos on those. Leave a comment down below and tell me maybe you knew some of these tips or maybe you have some new ones to share with me. I would be really interesting to hear that down below. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to my channel. I'm very close to 100 subscribers and I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in another one of my videos. Bye!